Oh, please don't let this one have an easy enough title for me to reference one of my favorite fantasy films of all time. Oh, thank God, it's the Shadows of Evil. The skunk known as Alexei KAvenov wandered the vast desert that Bunny's ancestors had placed him in months before. The heat didn't bother him. The lack of food and water didn't bother him. What did bother him was that there was no one to play his game. "Oh, the suffering, and no one to give it to!" He yelled at the wasteland before him. "The time is approaching, yet I have no place to hide!" As he crested a dune, he spotted a black-robed figure at the bottom. KAvenov smiled evenly. "At last, someone to play with!" He dashed towards the figure, swinging his rune sword wildly. The robed figure merely stood there, hands folded before him. When the KAvenov came close, he found that he no longer wanted to strike against him. Alexei looked at the figure, confused. "There's my anger," he complained. "I finally find someone, and I can't do anything to him." Robe dude, you lose coolness points. The cool thing would have been to allow KAvenov to try to hit you, and then you block the sword with two little fingers. "Be calm, KAvenov," the Gregor said gruffly. "The time is approaching, but not the time you think. No, a time of rebirth approaches. The rebirth of chaos." Oh, shoot. It's one of those guys from the reunion cult. You know, the cult that wanted to bring back Sephiroth. Dude, no, I don't want to talk about reunion. I don't want a copy of the Watts Meteor. And I definitely do not want to wear those black robes. The KAvenov dropped to one knee and looked at the figure in awe. "I have located the phylactery in which all of Chaos's evil power is contained," the figure continued. "I will teleport you there, that you may prevent it from falling into any hands that would win this accursed race. Feel free to use the power as you wish, but never forget whom the power truly belongs." The evil smile returned to KAvenov's lips. "I know exactly what misery to use it for," he said eagerly. "Let my game truly begin." The figure smiled, though his face was hidden in the shadows of his hood. He extended his hands towards KAvenov, and a black whirlwind surrounded the skunk. In seconds, Alexei had vanished. "Now, you summon another to my cause," the figure said, fading from sight. Rosie sat in her hut, enjoying the spring breeze that wafted in her window. Most of the snow had melted over the past month, and there was still enough for a couple of Naho residents to engage in a snowball fight. She smiled, remembering when she and Tanis had been like that. A sharp pain hit her heart. Rosie clutched her chest and struggled to draw in breath. She started to call out for help, even when the pain started to ease. Rosie sat back in her chair, waiting until the pain had left completely. "It's getting worse," she thought, relaxing. "I can't blame it on my age anymore. The time is near." Now, you see, this is the type of thing that roboticization was made for. We can roboticize her heart and make sure that she lives a little bit longer. "I had hoped to see Mobotropolis restored and Sally Queen before I died, but it does not seem to be in my future. I just wish I had more time. More time." "Hey, Rosie!" Sally called, appearing in the window. "Sonic and I are heading over to Sanctuary. Want to come?" "I'll be right with you, Sally," Rosie said, standing up slowly. She made her way to the door and opened it. "I hope you two won't mind if we walk today. I fear I'm not up to holding on to either of you." "You okay?" Sonic asked, concerned. "You're looking a little pale." "Just feeling my age," Rosie said, trying to smile. "I'm not so young anymore." "We'll take it easy," Sally promised. "That is, if my fiancé can actually walk somewhere." "I'll try," Sonic said, unusually muted. They started for Sanctuary, Sonic actually moving slower than the other two. Sally fell at the step next to him. "What's the matter?" she asked and whispered. "I haven't seen you like this in months." "I'm just worried about Rosie," Sonic admitted. "She hasn't been feeling well lately. I hope it's not something serious." Sally sighed. "I was thinking the same thing," she said. I think she'd tell us if something were really wrong. Not if she thought it would distract us from the race, Sonic pointed out. You know how she is, always caring for everyone else but herself. Sally nodded. Okay, when we get to Sanctuary, I'll have Tanis take a look at her. In Sanctuary, Tanis was in deep conversation with Donovan. The time is almost upon us, he said. You know what must be done. I'm aware of that, Donovan said. I just wish I didn't have to get anyone else involved. You know that isn't. It will require 3 to destroy the KAvenov. I must go as the only one capable of handling his power. The other 2 must be... I know, Donovan said tiredly. Friends who were once enemies. But to ask Anthony to do this, especially seeing as you're supposed to be married by now. I understand, but you know there are no others who qualify. Donovan sighed. Very well. The sooner I get him, the better. Anybody feel like this is a plot pile-up? I mean, we've had the Legend of the Chaos Emeralds, the race, the Legend of the Dragonheart, and now this. I teleport you, but I need to conserve my power as much as possible. Fine. I just hope I can catch him away from Bonnie. Tanis nodded and returned and walked him to the door. As Donovan rocketed off, he saw Sonic, Sally, and Rosie approach. Welcome, he said, smiling. Then he noticed they were walking in. Is something wrong? He asked, immediately concerned. I'm just feeling my age, Rosie said. That's nothing to worry about, really. Tanis saw the worried looks on Sonic and Sally's faces. Maybe I should take a look at you, he said. Sonic and Sally nodded quickly, but stopped when Rosie turned to glare at him. I didn't come here for you to fuss over me, she said a little angrily. If you're going to trust me, I might as well go home. Tanis sighed. You're still as stubborn as ever. Very well, come on in. Donovan flew to Knothole, hoping that Antoine was somewhere by himself. Unfortunately, Antoine and Bunny were staying together, just enjoying the mild weather. Greetings, Donnie, Antoine said, spying Donovan. Donovan led in front of them. Hello, Anthony. Bonnie, he said, nodding at each one. Hello, Donovan, Bunny said. What are you doing here without Nadia? Actually, I was hoping I could talk to Anthony about something. Certainly, Antoine said. Alone, Donovan amended. Bunny raised her eyebrows, but before she could say anything, Antoine stood up. If you would be excusing me, he said, bowing to Bunny and kissing her hand. I don't think Donnie would excuse me here long. Bunny stood up. I'll go, she said. I got some stuff I'm gonna do, but don't forget you're coming over for dinner. She kissed Antoine quickly, waved to Donovan and walked off. What did you want to talk to me about? Antoine asked when Bunny was out of sight. Something I was hoping I wouldn't have to, Donovan said regretfully, taking off his shades. I need your help. Why am I feeling that this is no ordinary hip? Because you know me better than that. I don't know how to put it this. Put it bluntly, you have never been good at, as Bunny put it, beating around the bush. Fine, here goes. You know how I've been tracking the KAvenov for another month, correct? Well, the time has come to vanquish this beast. Is that possible? Antoine asked. I thought whoever kills him becomes him. That is true. However, on the second day of a blue moon, the KAvenov becomes vulnerable. Blue moon? But the moon is right. Donovan sighed. A blue moon is the second full moon of a month. At that time, the KAvenov goes into hiding. But if you can find him and strike him, the demon can be destroyed. Can it be that simple? Donovan just looked at Antoine, his eyes saying everything that was needed. I see, Antoine continued. What else will we be needing to do? I'll let Tanis explain everything. Let me just say this. Someone may not come back, Donovan said, his voice very grave. Antoine let out a little whistle. I should have to tell Bunny about this. She will not like this at all. Have you told Nadia about this yet? Donovan, instead of answering, just put on his shades and walked away. I'll be taking that as a no, Antoine muttered. Just be at Sanctuary at dawn, Donovan called over his shoulder
activating his rocket boots. The blue moon is in 2 days' time.
Nadia sat typing at the computer when Donovan came into the hut. Hey there, she said, getting up and hugging him. Where have you been all day? I missed you.
I missed you too, Donovan said, hugging her back. I just went out to clear my head.
You're gone head on? Is this to clear your head? Why did I find it a little hard to believe?
Just like I'm supposed to believe that you left that book in the library.
Nadia made a cute grimace. Point made. Still, I would like to know where you are.
You will, in due course, I promise. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take a nap.
Can I join you? Nadia asked mischievously. I'd like to tell you something I read today.
No, not tonight. Donovan said with a small chuckle. Knowing you, I won't be able to get out of my bed for a few weeks if you do.
Donovan walked to the bedroom and flopped down on the bed. Nadia shrugged and sat back at the computer. Computer, I don't suppose you know where my boyfriend was, do you?
No, I do not.
Okay, bring up all surveillance tapes for the last half hour and tell me if it appears on any of them.
The computer took a few minutes to search through the tapes. Here was a knothole.
Knothole? What was he doing there?
Visiting their god.
I wonder why he went to Antoine, she thought. And what's the point? Why didn't he want me to know about it? I'll find out tomorrow.
Later that night, Benny and Antoine were talking after dinner.
I don't see why you have to go,
Bunny said, washing the dishes.
If it's as lazy as you say, will this affect the race?
Perhaps, Antoine admitted. But I do not think Danny would be asking this of me if it would. But perhaps it would affect the race more if we do not.
Will you be coming back here tomorrow night?
Bunny asked, yes, suddenly. Antoine nodded. As far as I know, Danny only wants to speak with me during the day. Glanced as Watson stood. I should be heading to my hut now. I will be meeting him at dawn. Good night, my lovely doll. He kissed her neck and left the hut. Bunny stood there, unmoving.
Don't know why I'm so nervous,
Bunny thought, as her hands were shaking so badly she dropped the plates he held. Which, coincidentally, was a plate that Antoine had given her. What? Anime cliche 101.
I just have this dreadful feeling that tomorrow night might be my last night with him. I know it will agree, but I have to try. Well, at least one more memory of him.
Deep in the night, when the nearly full moon rose over the tower known as Dragon's Nest, a black-robed form suddenly appeared at the base. The air was heavy with the stench of decayed flesh, as the body of Voltaire, the evil dragon, had lain unburied since being vanquished by Rotor and Dulcie. No ordinary Mobian could stand the sight or smell of this area, but then, the one in black rose was nothing but ordinary. Wait. What if this is Vecna? I mean, we've already had a D&D dragon.
Delirious. It's Asmodeus! Really? You think Asmodeus is a little bit worse than Vecna? Well, you know, I mean... Asmodeus is the devil.
Yeah, but Vecna is the god of lies. We need to have a conversation about that later. The figure surveyed the scene before him for long moments, then placed his hands on the body of Voltaire. Words began to spill from his lips, words that Mobius had not heard in many years, no decent soul would ever utter. His voice rose in intensity and volume, making the very ground shake with his power. The body of Voltaire twists in what could be mistaken as death throes. If he had not been as dead over a month already, blue and red lightning arced over the body, shaking out the wounds and healing him up. One bolt, darker than the figure's rose, made straight for Voltaire's heart. Once it found its mark, the dragon's eyes snapped open. The figure stepped away, pleased with his work. Voltaire slowly got up to his feet, looking around in wonder and fear. "I was dead," he said, his voice seeming to come from miles away. "Ah, fuck a Dragolich." "You still are," the figure spoke, "but I have called your soul back, that you may serve the bidding of chaos." Voltaire regarded the figure before him with a grudging respect.
Are you he of whom the legends speak? The one who will bring chaos to Mobius once more?
I am. If you help me in this, you shall have a place at his side. If you refuse, you return to oblivion.
How can I refuse such a generous offer?
Voltaire asked sarcastically.
What would you have me do?
It is simple. You will guard one place from me, and all that is within it. Let no one approach, living, dead, or undead. But do not fail. If anything gets past you, your body will crumble into dust.
Where is this building?
I will take you there.
The figure raised his hands again and summoned a black whirlwind to transport them. Antoine woke the next morning well before sunrise. He was planning to slip out of knothole before anyone woke up and knew he was gone, especially Bunny. Not even bothering to shower, he slipped into his uniform and left his hut. The moon had not quite set yet, so the land was lit up by its ghostly glow. Antoine made his way silently through knothole into the path that led to Sanctuary. To his luck, no one seemed to be up yet except the night watch. Bunny's hut was dark, and no sounds came from within. He walked by carefully, looking for anything unusual. He passed by the hut without incident, and hissed a brief relief. As he neared the edge of the knothole, he cursed under his breath. "This is not Bunny's night to stand rots," he thought. "She must have switched to catch me living." Antoine looked around for another way. Every path that led out of the knothole and towards Sanctuary passed by this spot. It was too dark to blunder through the forest spindly, so he settled down and waited for an opening. As he waited, the wind started to pick up. Before he knew it, he was sitting in the middle of a small cyclone. He shielded his eyes against the wind, and a bright flash of light engulfed him. Bunny threw down her night goggles in frustrations. She had been keeping an eye on Antoine ever since he came within range, but now he was gone, and she had a pretty good idea who had gotten him. If he had left normally, Bunny would have had every right to tail him, seeing how late it was. But with Tannis bringing him straight to Sanctuary, Bunny had no chance of getting out of her watch before it was over. Sighing, he picked up the goggles and scanned the forest half-heartedly. Around this time, Donovan was waking up in the hut he shared with Nadia. He started to stretch to get out of bed before he realized that Nadia had her arms around him and was snuggling into his chest as usual. Problem, he thought. Every time I get away from her, she immediately wakes up. And this is one morning I don't want her up. He tried unlocking her arms and slipping out of them, but she started to stir as soon as he moved. Easy, he whispered, stroking her hair. I'm here. Nadia's smile seemed to return to a deep sleep. Moving slowly, Donovan was able to get out of her embrace. Nadia seemed restless, but did not wake up. He tiptoed to the bathroom where he had a bundle hidden in a wall. He drew it out carefully and stuffed it into a backpack. Slinging the backpack over one shoulder, he headed for the door. Nadia was waiting for him. "And where are you going, Desani?" she asked, adjusting her bathrobe. "Boing!" "I just had to go out for a while," he answered evasively. "Nothing to worry about." "Really? Then what's in the backpack?"
"Just something I had to drop off on my way."
"You're not going to tell me what it is?"
What's with all the questions this morning?" Donovan cowered.
"Is it a crime to wonder where the squirrel I love is going off to?"
Donovan's mouth twisted to one side.
"Understandable. I'll talk to you when I come back."
"And when will that be?"
"Sometime tonight."
Nadia nodded reluctantly.
"Very well, but know this. I'm going to have a special dinner planned. And," she added with a hint of a smile, "maybe a special dessert."
"The special dessert scares me. Donovan, when a woman says she has a special dessert, do not be scared. Just get ready to abuse that tongue of yours like there's no tomorrow."
"I should warn you. When a woman also says she has a special dessert planned,
be ready to talk like this so very funny because your tongue is going to get tired." "I wonder why," Nadia said in a sing-song voice. "It's not poisoned in anything, and it'll be made with a lot of love."
"That's what I'm afraid of. Gotta go!"
Donovan hurried by Nadia and out the door. Nadia waved goodbye and shut her door behind him.
"All right,"
she said, suddenly serious.
"Computer, tell me everything you know where he's going."
"I'm not sure where he's going," the computer said, "even though I have an idea. but I do know what was in his backpack.
His atlas?
The computer sighed. I was afraid of this. This is something very serious.
Stop sighing.
Very well. His backpack are his father's sword and his father's uniform.
Just where do you think he is going?
Sanctuary.
Nadia's eyes bugged. That son of a computer. Teleport me to Knothole now, and make it as close as you can to Bunny's hut.
Are you sure you don't want to get dressed first?
Nadia blushed momentarily. Good point, but as soon as I'm done, teleport me. Donovan flew off towards Sanctuary, arriving in about 10 minutes. Taz and Antoine were waiting for him inside.
Welcome home,
Welcome home, Donovan, Todd said. We were waiting for you.
Sorry for the delay. I brought something that I need you to keep for me until tomorrow,
Donovan said, handing over the bundle he carried. Taz's hands trembled slightly as he took it.
As you wish, Donovan,
he said slowly.
But this is really not necessary,
he said solemnly.
Shall we begin?
First of all, Antoine said, I believe I should be told exactly what I am to be expecting.
My apologies,
Tana said.
I have been over this so many times with Donovan. Set my mind I might not have said anything to you. Let me begin at the beginning.
Oh, please, exposition us over here, those of us who haven't been with Donovan for ages. As Taz was explaining everything to Antoine, over in Knothole, Bunny was dragging herself to her hut.
I should be going out to sugar twine, she thought, but I've never been this tired. Maybe a quick nap will perk me up.
She opened the door and stumbled to her bed. She almost threw herself down before noticing that someone was sitting there.
Nalia!
Bunny yawned.
What the who are you doing here?
Did Antoine leave early this morning? Nadia asked, ignoring Bunny. He went to Sanctuary, I think. At least that's usually where someone goes when that whirlwind surrounds them. Nadia sighed. We need to talk to Rosie as soon as possible.
Can't just wait till I get some sleep, Bunny whined. I've been up all night.
It can, but then you might lose any chance you have to stop him.
Bunny's eyes snapped open. Give me 5 minutes and I'll meet you in front of Rosie's hut.
5 minutes later, Bunny and Nadia were in front of Rosie's hut. Bunny knocked softly on the door.
Rosie, are you awake?
No answer. Nadia knocked a little harder.
Rosie, you in there?
Who's there? A weak voice answered from inside. Bunny and Nadia exchanged looks of concern. They opened the door and walked inside. Rosie sat up when she came in, and though the movement obviously pained and fatigued her.
Oh, hello, you two, Sia said tiredly. What brings you here this early in the morning?
Rosalie? Bunny asked, concerned. You feeling okay? You don't look so good.
I'm fine, dear,
she said with a wan smile.
Mornings don't agree with me anymore, but I think I lived long enough to sleep in every once in a while. But enough about that. You came here for something. What is it?
We were wondering if you know what business Donovan and Antoine will have a sanctuary. Why do we want to keep it a secret from us? Rosie thought for a moment.
Taz has seemed very preoccupied lately, she said. He keeps reading some ancient text every time he gets a chance. Just the other day, I interrupted a conversation he was having with another Holy One. I asked him about it, but he never did give me a straight answer.
I say we confront these 3 men about it, Nadia said. About some extra teleport chips so we can go there right away. I don't know how close it'll leave us. I'm pretty sure Donovan didn't just put a receiver chip actually inside Sanctuary. Give me a moment to check.
I'm coming too,
Rosie said, rising to her feet.
Are you sure you're up to it? Bunny asked, and Nadia began walking to a communicator.
Would you let a little weakness stop you from finding out what Antoine was up to?
Bunny smiled. Good point.
Whenever you're ready, Nadia.
While the women were discussing all this, Antoine and Donovan were leaving Sanctuary.
Where would you be going? Antoine asked. Depends on what kind of training you're looking to do, Donovan replied.
What effort did it take to deal with the KAvenov?
Either someplace flat with no place to hide, or someplace mountainous with a lot of obstacles.
Antoine was about to suggest something when he saw Maurice approaching them. His head down, as if something was terribly wrong.
Is something the matter, Maurice?
Antoine asked as they got close. Maurice said nothing, but just kept walking until he was straight next to Donovan and Antoine. "Is something wrong, Maurice?" Donovan asked.
"As a matter of fact,"
Maurice said in a strange voice, "there is." Before either of them could react, Maurice reached up and grabbed them both by their throats with a strength that was not his own. His head shot up, and they both could see his eyes were solid white.
"You both are still breathing."
Donovan and Antoine fought back out of instinct, shocked by what they just heard. They tried to pry Maurice's hands off their throats, but they couldn't even budge them.
"Time to return some of the misery that you caused me!"
Maurice cackled, squeaking his entire. At that moment, Nadia, Bunny, and Rosie appeared beside them. It took only a second for them to assist the situation and react. Bunny shifted her arms and legs to robotic and grabbed Maurice by his neck. As Nadia and Rosie held on to Donovan and Antoine, Bunny extended her legs, forcing Maurice to let go.
"What's going on here?"
she demanded.
"There. If it isn't the incomplete rabbit," Maurice cackled. "Now that you're here, I guess I ought to thank you."
"KAvenov," Bunny exclaimed.
"But there's no way Maurice would have killed you. He knows better."
"Your ghostly friends thought they'd be smart by sending me somewhere that there was no one I could make suffer. Little did he realize that they'd send me right to the core of my master." Bunny retracted her legs, bringing Maurice slamming to the ground, head first. Maurice looked at everyone.
"Next time, I shall return with a bigger messenger. In the meantime, know this. Your last nightmare has come to pass."
"Hey, Cloak Dude, can I just say how much of an idiot you are? Why not just take the Shadow Emerald for yourself? Hold it in until the year ends, and then wait till chaos awakens." Just saying. Good always triumphs, because evil are dumb. Maurice cackled for a bit, then screamed as every nerve in his body fired at once. Bunny backed off, and everyone watched helplessly as Maurice's body convulsed. After a few moments, he collapsed, completely spent. "Maurice!" Patricia yelled, running down the path with a crying Kelly Min in her arms. She knelt down at his side. "What happened to him?" "I was hoping you'd tell us that," Nadia said. "From how he sounded, it was like he was the KAvenov." "That's impossible," Patricia said, feeling Maurice for a pulse. "We were taking a walk, enjoying the spring air. Suddenly, he gets a strange look and takes off for here. I spent the last 15 minutes catching up."
"Does not sound like how the KAvenov usually possesses ability,"
Antoine said.
"I am thinking we should bring him to Tanis and see what he thinks."
Tanis was preparing to contact one of his brethren when the doors opened and Maurice was carried in.
"What happened to him?"
Tanis demanded as they sat him down. "I don't know. Maurice just came and tried to separate Anthony's and my heads from our bodies."
"I can't believe that," he said. "What make him do that?"
"He was sounding much like the KAvenov," Antoine said. Tanis' eyes bulged. He placed his hands on Maurice and concentrated.
"I feel the moments of KAvenov's evil," he said, "but it was not taken over as the KAvenov normally does. It was meant to be temporary."
"How could the KAvenov do something like that?"
Nadia asked.
"I thought it was all or nothing."
"I did mention something about finding the core of his master," Bunny said.
"What?"
Donovan nearly yelled.
"You don't suppose,"
Tanis began. "Looks like my neglect may have doomed us all," Donovan said, head bowed.
"Antoine, Bunny, I need you to get Sally, Sonic, and anyone else you can hear as quickly as you can,"
Tanis said.
"In the meantime, I'll summon Knuckles and Robotnik."
"Why do you need them here?"
Rosie asked, sitting down on one of the benches. Tanis fixed her with a blank stare.
"If we're right, the KAvenov has found the Shadow Emerald."
Within an hour, Sanctuary was filled with all interested parties. The main core of Nahul's freedom fighters were there, mainly the ones who actually do crap in this fic, with the exception of Dulcie and Rotor, who were waiting outside. Sally thought it was best not to alarm everyone, and was taking strict precautions until she found exactly what was going on. Dr. Robotnik was there too. He kept a watchful eye on the others as they kept the one on him. Knuckles arrived just seconds ago and seemed very agitated.
"What do you mean? The KAvenov has the Shadow Emerald!"
he nearly yelled.
Keep your voice down, Tanis ordered. Do not forget where you are.
Knuckles made a supreme effort to control himself. Very well, Shirat. But will someone please explain all this?
We don't know how he attained the Shadow Emerald, Donovan said. It was apparently somewhere I didn't think to look.
I might have said something about my ancestors sending him there, Bunny said. I guess that kind of makes it my fault. They did it practically.
What do you mean your ancestors sent him there to protect you?
He invaded my family's resting site. I was there to complete my training when he showed up. Their spirits teleported him somewhere, but I didn't hang around long enough to find out where. I believe I heard Tamara mention something about the Lotus Sand, Antoine said thoughtfully. Does this help?
The desolate sands, Donovan said, angry at himself. Why didn't I think to look there?
Probably because there was only one building out there, Knuckles said. Guess where I hid the Shadow Emerald? But I don't see how he got to it. My spells were specifically designed to keep evil spirits like him out. Be as it may, Sally said. We have to do something about it.
We were only going to do something about it, Tanis pointed out. Antoine, Donovan, and I were just now preparing to deal with the KAvenov once and for all.
How's that? Sonic asked. If you kill him, he just takes you over, right?
Tanis explained. Let me explain it to you. You all heard the phase, once in the full moon, right? Once in the blue moon, right? Well, it isn't just a saying. A blue moon occurs when there are 2 full moons in a month, the blue one being the second. On the second night of a blue moon, the forces that tie spirits to this world weaken, and even the KAvenov spirit. If one knows how, one can banish the spirits from Mobius for all eternity. In the text passed down through my line, it is written that 3 animals must accomplish this feat. The first must be a holy one, as we are the only ones with the power to do so. For a spirit as powerful as the KAvenov, I am the only holy one capable of handling him. The other 2 must be friends who were once enemies. This is because they would share a bond that has survived their conflict. The only 2 I know are strong enough to skill to do that are Donovan and Antoine. To deal with the KAvenov specifically, the 3 must find his host body and destroy it. But you are correct, Sonic. Whoever does this will be taken over. But on that specific night, when the spirit is weak, whoever kills the body retrains his will longer to normal. At that time, he must take his own life.
No! Nadia, Bunny, and Rosie screamed together.
There is no other way. If he is successful, the spirit will be driven into the air and given a form of his own. If that form can be destroyed, the KAvenov will be forever sealed in the abyss. There are 2 ways to do this. If either Donovan or Antoine destroys the host body, I must expend all my power to destroy the spirit. If I were younger, I have a good chance to survive. But now even if I did, I wouldn't have the strength to call upon my powers ever again.
You said there are 2 ways, Nadia said. What's the second? Well, technically third. I mean, we could, now work with me on this, let Robotnik have one of his robots, or send a whole army and have one of the robots kill, one of the Robians kill, say, the KAvenov. Have the KAvenov go into one of the Robians, since they are technically living, but they're just roboticized. And boom, KAvenov is under Robotnik's control. We may have a little problem of trying to keep him under control, but I think we can accept the loss.
I must destroy the host body. The energy released by my death will weaken the spirit so badly it could be struck and killed by a blessed blade. It will all come down to whoever gets the forbidden strike.
All this is well and good, Robotnik said, stroking his mustache. But now the beast apparently has use of the Shadow Emerald. It'll not be as easy as that.
You are correct, Robotnik, Tanis said. That's why you're here. You must get him away from the Shadow Emerald in order to help if any hope to defeating him. Because if it's going, it will certainly give the Emerald to the Freedom Fighters. With your permission, Knuckles continued, I can waive the battle clause as I did with the Earth Emerald. But know that if you don't, neither side would probably win the race, and chaos will be unleashed on Mobius. You must think me a fool to let my enemies get a more of an advantage on me, Robotnik scoffed. I would never! The doors of the sanctuary were blown off by their hinges by a powerful blast of lightning. The massive form of Rotor began squeezing into the building, his eyes as pure white as Maurice's have been. By the Almighty! Thomas yelled as everyone dove for cover. Oh, he has nothing to do with this, Rotor said, his voice echoing with the KAvenov's madness. His breath a strain from fire straight for Tannis. Tannis raised his hands, invoking a magical shield to repel the fire. He started chanting on a nearby rope entwined around Rotor, preventing any movement and sealing his mouth. You don't have a ring sword to break the rope this time, Tannis said, advancing on Rotor. Rotor strained against his bounds, but he could not break free. Tannis laid his hands on Rotor, about to expel the evil from him, when the rope suddenly disengaged. Rotor's tail lashed around, smacking Tannis into a wall. Now that I have your attention, I just wanted to invite you to come play my game. The rules are quite simple. Destroy me before I destroy you. Oh, and one more thing. Thank you so very much, Guardian, for showing me the location of the emerald. I didn't know where it was until you used it. Enough of this! Nadia yelled, rushing at Rotor. Rotor looked at Nadia, confused for a second. He breathed a sand poison gas right at her. Nadia rolled underneath it and grabbed Rotor by his neck. A strange gray light emanated from her and surrounded Rotor. What's happening? Rotor demanded, howling in pain. The gray light forced its way inside Rotor, expelling a dark purple cloud of energy. Rotor slumped to the ground, unconscious. Rotor! Dulcie yelled, squeezing her way inside. What happened? He was taken over by the KAvenov's evil and the Shadow Emerald, Nadia said. I guess if you want to deal with the Shadow Emerald, you'll need the Life Emerald. Remember what it did for me? I still share a bond with it. Dennis! Rosie yelled, hurrying to him. Are you okay? Only a little sore, he said, standing with Rosie's help. The Almighty protects me. Still think this is a fool's errand? Knuckles asked, looking at Robotnik square in the eyes. Now that I know I caused him to find it, I have to make it right, whatever it takes. Robotnik took a deep breath. I will want a concession, of course. If it comes to Armageddon, you will choose the battleground. Robotnik nodded, wiping his brow. How can we protect ourselves from that thing in the meantime? I can keep the Shadow Emerald energy away from both Knothole and Robotropolis, but you must all return there now. As for those going with me, Tannis said, the Almighty will shield us. We all better return home and wait this thing out, Sandra suggested. It might not hurt to offer some prayers for their success either. Everyone left Sanctuary then, each one more than a little worried and even more afraid. Everyone except Tannis, of course, and Rosie. I want to stay here and pray for a while, she said. Tannis nodded. I will be in my room healing myself. I know you want to talk about this. We will later. He bowed to her and walked, a little stiffly, to his room. The KAvenov paced around his inner sanctum, extremely worried by what he had seen. What did I meant to do? He asked the air nervously. What did I meant to do? Would you stop your whining? The black-robed figure demanded, stepping out from a shadow. But my game may be over before it begins. How's that? The figure asked. Someone has tapped the energy of the Life Emerald to stop the battle of the shuttle. That is a problem. But she is not one of the three who seeks you out. But if it should happen to come, if she comes, there are ways to deal with her. Remember, all we have to do is delay them until the moon sets tomorrow night. Then no one can destroy you. The sea will be powerless to stop you. But they will try again at the next blue moon. By then, chaos will reign, and you will be protected by him. The figure fans into a pool of liquid darkness. Look, dude, either you're one of Sephiroth's goons, or you're a member of Organization 13. Either way, I despise you.
Rosie sank down to her knees in front of the altar.
Almighty One, hear my prayer. I know I haven't been the most religious of animals, nor did I ever want to be. I have no right to expect anything from you, because of the anger I still harbor for you taking Tannis from me all those years ago. But please, listen to me. Tannis has much left to do in this world. Even without his powers, everyone I know respects and listens to him. My time on Mobius is nearly done. It wouldn't be right for him or anyone else to sacrifice their lives when they still have so much to live for. I guess I'm asking is this. Grant me the strength to go with him, whether he allows me to or not, and defeat the KAvenov. Let it be my one last act of true selflessness, and my final act on Mobius. This I beg you.
Rosie knelt there for a moment, whispering her prayer over and over again. Just when she was about to pass out, she felt a warmth fill her. A smile touched her lips. As she was about to give thanks, she felt a strength fill her like none she had ever known. Her heart, which had begun to beat very regularly recently, now beat slow and strong. I hope not too slowly. Her limbs, given to tremors as arthritis took them over, now moved steadily. She hadn't felt this good since she was 18. She had ever felt this good.
Thank you,
she whispered, rising to her feet.
He won't like this, but then again, he won't know about it either.
She sat down on a nearby bench, waiting for Tannis to come out. That evening, in 3 different areas of the Great Forest, a similar discussion was occurring between 3 different couples.
You know, I cannot be allowing Tannis or Donovan to give their lives for this,
Antoine told Bunny's heart.
Tannis is the last to see that. He must stay with Laura for as long as he can. Donnie has just found his true love in Nadia. They deserve to be together. I've had my chances with you. It is not as much fault for not making good on that than when I had a chance.
I should be the one to give my life, Donovan insisted to Nadia in the hut they shared. Anthony is engaged to Bonnie. They have their whole life to live together. Tannis is like a father to me. It would not be right for him to die because of my carelessness. If I had found the KAvenov earlier, then maybe I'd been able to stop him. Because it was my error, I should make it right. I'm glad we had the time together we had. Just I wish it could have been more.
My life is nearing its end,
Tannis told Rosie in Sanctuary.
Theirs will be just reaching their prime. They are both in love, and probably will marry very soon. I'm the oldest. I'm the one who should give my life. I lived a full life with only one complaint. I wish I could have spent it with you. But sometimes choices are made for us. I don't regret what life had taken me.
The 3 women being spoken to, all 3 different and unique, all had one thing to say.
Hold me. Just hold me tonight.
All 3 men just stared. They all expecting an argument and were ready for them. But those simple words had deflated their bravado, all their self-assurance. They wrapped their arms around their woman before them, and did as they were asked. Nothing else happened that night. Bullshit! Okay, no, don't try and hit me with this purity and all this.
Oh, they never did anything that night. They were pure and chaste.
Oh, fuck off with that shit. 1. Again, see the teenager argument. 2. They both know that tonight may be the last night that they are alive. That they know that this might be the last time that they will ever see each other again. They know one of them is going to die. 3. They also know that none of them have a chance of surviving this. Emotions are raised. Hormones are raised. You have just put down a perfect melting pot of all the circumstances that basically say that yes, these are going to fuck. This is a stress reliever. This is one of those things that happens. I'm sorry to say this, because they both want one heartwarming, good moment between each other to devote their lives and show how much they love each other. So, no, don't try to say it. Don't try to pull it off. At least 2 of them would be banging, and the other one would be close. But, no.
Actually, scratch that. All three would be going at it because they're not sure what's going to happen the next day. So don't try it. Be a little more realistic about the relationships and know that, yes, they would be going at it. Don't lie to me. You just said they knew this could be their last night. Yeah, emotions and hormones and all that tends to mess with you. Antoine, Donovan, and Tanis gathered at the sanctuary the next day. Antoine was dressed in his best uniform, and a curved sword hung at his side. It was a present from Bunny. She had insisted he take one of her swords and wouldn't take no for an answer. He ran his finger absently across the hilt and crossbar, trying to focus on the task at hand. Well, technically it's called a crossguard. Donovan was wearing something very unusual for him, an all-white uniform similar to a karate gi, only with longer sleeves and no rank belt. Even his gloves were white. It was his father's uniform he wore, and it was his father's sword that hung at his side. He was not wearing his shades, and his purple eyes seemed thoughtful and determined. Tanis was dressed as he always was, a long robe with a hood. But before his robe was a black or gray. Today it was a dark red, almost the color of blood. "Are you both ready?" he asked, his voice even and measured. "Oh, and another thing. You're telling me you got one old couple, and as much as I don't want to think about old people's sex, who know that this could be their last time together? You have a couple who's already fucked before, and then you got this new one?" "Yeah. Ain't nobody not going to bed without a few orgasms going about." "I am," Antoine said, bowing. "So am I," Donovan said. "If I may be asking," Antoine said, "why are you wearing a red robe?" "Only holy ones wear red robes when they willingly go into battle against a creature of chaos," Donovan said. "You remember," Tanis said, smiling, "the texts state that the first Holy One who fought an agent of chaos was killed in battle, his blood staining his robe. Since then, we have worn the red robes in his honor." Antoine nodded, satisfied with the explanation, but Donovan scowled. He knew that Tanis hadn't said anything. The red robes were enchanted to send the Holy One's soul straight to the Almighty should he die in battle. Donovan now knew that Tanis had intended to give his life for him, and he was even more determined not to allow him to do so. "If there's nothing else," Tanis said, "we best go. We have only the time between moonrise and moonset to destroy the KAvenov." The door the sanctuary swung open. "We're ready too," the three females said in the doorway. "Bunny, if you think," Antoine began. "Don't even start," Bunny said. She was dressed in the same gi that she had worn when summoned by her ancestors. Her other sword was strapped around her waist, and the belt around her waist as red as Tanis' rose. "If you think I'm gonna let you go into this without me, you're crazy." "Nadia, get back," Donovan started. "Computer tried the same argument, and it didn't work," Nadia said. She had on her sweatsuit. She held Donovan's old sword in her hands. "I may not be the best of a sword, but you've already seen me handle the Shadow Emerald once. Admit it, you need me." "Rosie, you have no business," Tanis argued. "Maybe not," Rosie interrupted. Of everyone there, she was the only one in her usual clothing. "Yeah, I didn't have time to get dressed in something badass. But someone had to be the third member of this group. I'm not about to let anyone else risk their lives over this, especially when I'm already emotionally involved." The three men sighed. "Are they having a chance of winning this?" Antoine asked. "What do you think?" Donovan asked in return. "Very well," Tanis said. "Come here. There's something I need to do before I go." When everyone had gathered around the altar, Tanis asked them to place their blades on it. He touched each one of them in turn, saying a prayer over them, and asking the Almighty to bless them. The blades glowed with a soft white light that soon faded. Tanis noticed a little surprise that Bunny's sword had turned blue just before it faded out and Antoine's turned green. "Where's mine?" Rosie asked. "There's no way," Tanis began. "I believe your exact words will. It'll all come down to whoever gets the open strike. What if I'm the only one who gets it?" "Okay, cleric, as long as you're blessing everything, why not create a hero's feast?" Tanis looked to the others for help, but none met his gaze. You're on your own, Donovan said, speaking for everyone. Tannis grumbled to himself and closed his eyes. In a few seconds, Knuckles faded to view. I hope you know what you're asking, sweetheart, Knuckles said coldly.
I know full well, Tannis said gently. I wouldn't ask this, but we are short on time.
Knuckles nodded and presented a large box to Rosie. So he opened it up and drew forth a sword that glowed with its own light. I trust you'll take care of it, Knuckles said, taking back the box. That is a very special sword. It is the one my ancestors used to seal chaos.
You can count on me, Rosie said simply. How will I hold it? I saw no scabbard.
Knuckles smiled and the sword vanished. All you need to do is picture it in your hand and it will appear. And don't worry about not knowing how to use it. It's enchanted to make even the most unskilled animal a master. Rosie nodded. Knuckles looked at her for a moment, as if seeing something about her. Smiling to himself, he waved to the others and vanished.
If there's nothing else, Tannis said, looking around, the sun will be setting soon. There's not much time.
Everyone linked hands and formed a circle around Tannis. Ring around the rosy, pockets full of posy. He chanted in a low voice, and a whirlwind rose around him, teleporting to where they need to go.
Is this it?
Nadia said disbelievingly. The structure they stood before was old, almost as old as Sanctuary. Although Sanctuary was in good repair, this building more than showed its age.
I can't believe Knuckles would have hidden an emerald here. The thing will crumble if it's touched wrong.
Can you think of a more perfect place to hide it? Donovan asked.
Yeah, especially one that won't kill you on your way to get it.
Looks can be deceiving, Tannis said. There are strong forces at work here, not just the KAvenov on the emerald.
Well, we ain't gonna do anything standing around here, Bunny said, punching her left fist in the air.
I am indeed, Antoine said, then looked at Bunny. Is something wrong with my toe?
Bunny stared at her arm. Just give me a second, she said, punching the air again.
What are you doing?
Nadia asked.
My arm.
I can't change it, Bunny yelled.
Impossible, Donovan said. That was part of your wish, wasn't it?
You were there. You heard it. I've never been stuck like this since I made my wish. It's almost like I never made it.
Almost?
Rosie asked. Well, my arms and legs are still normal. They didn't go back to being robotic. At that point, Donovan yelled in pain and fell to the sands, holding his leg.
Donovan!
Nadia yelled, rushing to his side. A snake reared up in front of her, eyes solid white.
You!
She yelled, grabbing the snake by its throat.
As you can see,
the snake hissed in KAvenov's voice,
I have decided to change some of the rules. This won't be the last.
The snake went into violent convulsions, much as Maurice had yesterday. Nadia threw the snake with all her might. She pushed Donovan's hands aside and examined the wound.
Poison!
She said, seeing the skin around the red marks red and inflamed.
Tannis!
See? Told you so had Hero's Feast. Tannis hurried over and took everything in a glance. He held his hands on Donovan's leg and used his power to draw out the poison. It took a couple of minutes, but Donovan was soon able to stand on his own.
How are you feeling?
He asked Donovan worriedly. Physically, I'm fine, Donovan said, limping off.
Mentally?
Nadia asked, following him. I'll worry about that once we get out of here.
You won't be going anywhere.
A voice thundered from high overhead. Everyone looked up and saw a large form dropping down on them. They scattered in all directions as the form landed.
You'll never enter this place alive.
It cannot be, Antoine said. This is looking like the dragon rotor and Dusty setting killed.
The black and gray scaled dragon whipped its head around, sending a tongue of dark flame right at Antoine. He dove out of the way, and the fire struck a rock where he had been standing. But the rock did not melt. Rather, it crumbled to the sand as if aged and eroded.
His eyes are white,
Rosie said, started peering at her hand.
The KAvenov doesn't control this one.
Maybe not, but the 6 of us should be able to defeat it, Donovan said, drawing his sword.
No sooner he said that, the dark lightning arced from the building, striking 3 of them. In a blast as dark as a dragon, Thomas, Donovan, and Bunny disappeared.
No!
Bunny yelled, then the 3 had to dodge another blast from the dragon.
Antoine charged the dragon.
If you are Voltaire, then I shall return you to your eternal punishment.
He struck the dragon, his sword cleanly slicing off an arm. The dragon just smiled as he hadn't felt the blow. The severed arm turned to dust as it hit the ground, and the stump left by Antoine's blow extended and grew into another arm.
Foolish mortal, you cannot kill that which is already dead.
You know, when he was younger, my little brother had a thing against this saying, and after years of playing video games and D&D, I kind of have a problem with this phrase too. He struck at Antoine with his claws, just barely missing.
What do we do now?
Nadia asked.
I don't think my emerald will have any effect on him. Just keep him busy,
Ray said, clutching around.
I have an idea. Hey, ugly!
Nadia yelled, waving her arms.
You couldn't hit me if I was standing still.
Let's put that to the test,
Voltaire said, ripping off his own arm. He threw it at Nadia and it grabbed her, pinning her down against the sand.
Now, let's see how bad my aim is.
Antoine saw that Rosie was still moving toward position, so he got between Voltaire and Nadia. A shower of purple ice flew from Voltaire's mouth, covering Antoine in a heartbeat.
Idiot,
Voltaire muttered, smiling as the ice solidified around Antoine.
Now you both die.
Rosie took advantage of Voltaire's distraction and snuck up behind him. She plunged her sword into the back of his head, twisting it almost away and around before pulling it out. Voltaire screamed in pain.
This can't be happening,
he said, staring in horror as his body crumbled away.
Chaos himself felt in his sword, Rosie said. No minion of his could stand it.
Voltaire tried to desperately breathe something at Rosie, but his entire snout was crumbling, making it impossible. Rosie just watched as the rest of him turned to dust, and the dust was blown away by the desert wind. The ice imprisoning Antoine melted, as did the claw pinning Nadia.
Gross,
she said, dusting herself off.
Now what do we do? We go in,
Rosie said, slicing through the doors with his sword. She hadn't even broken a sweat during the fight.
But can we be doing it by ourselves? Antoine said. Won't we be needing Talus? And he is not dead, Rosie said calmly. And the KAvenov could have killed him like that. Why didn't he kill us all? No. He just separated us from the ones he thought were the most dangerous to him. They're still alive, for now, at least. The longer it takes to find them, the less likely you'll all find them alive. Now, let's get moving.
They entered the dark building and were hit by a wave of fear and evil. Nadia and Antoine shivered from it, but Rosie seemed unaffected.
This way,
she said, pointing down the 3 tunnels before them.
The closest one is down this tunnel.
As soon as they got a little way down the tunnel, the shattered door glowed with a black light. The pieces lifted off the ground and reformed to the door, trapping them inside. They glanced back at the door in concern but pressed on, knowing they had no choice. They might have felt differently about that if they had seen what was going on outside the doors. The dust that had been Voltaire gathered together, forming a cyclone. 2 red eyes peered out from the depths, the glint of evil strong and numb. The cyclone moved rapidly away from the temple, forming red horns and a black-gray tail as it did. When her vision cleared, Bunny had suddenly found herself in a long hallway. One of the hallway dressed off into the darkness. The other opened up in a well-lit room. Better check out the room first, she thought, drawing her sword and walking around the room. When she reached the room, she saw that the light that seemed to come from all around her. In the center of the room was a strange blob of darkness that seemed to suck up all light around it. How strange, she thought, approaching it carefully. She poked at it with the sword, ready for almost anything. Red eyes glared at her from the darkness.
Unauthorized life form detected.
A robotic voice droned. That was something Bunny had not been prepared for. She backed up, not knowing what to expect. While emerged from the darkness made her blood red cold. It was a robot emerged, looking exactly like her.
Prepare for termination, the robot droned. Bunny robot!
Oh my stars,
Bunny whispered, her sword nearly falling from her hands. The robot didn't just look like her. It sounded much less mouse-like, sounded like a real hedgehog.
What kind of sick joke is this?
Laser shot out of the robot's eyes. Bunny avoided instinctively, was caught by a glancing blow. It didn't hurt, much to Bunny's surprise, but where it caught her left elbow, the flesh had been replaced by metal, much to her fear. Even worse, the same robot area on the robot had turned to flesh, much to her horror. The robot smiled and looked at Bunny.
And prepare to be replaced,
it said, its voice slightly less metallic. What the hell are you talking about? Bunny demanded. The robot fired again, this time missing Bunny completely. Fan! She said, charging the robot, sword slashing. Metal claws extended from the robot's fingers. Grabbed Bunny's sword and pulled her in close. The robot fired at Bunny, trying to hit her at point-blank range. Bunny released his sword and dropped to the ground. She kicked at the robot's legs, trying to get it prone on the floor. The robot jumped up before Bunny made contact and came down one of her feet. Bunny yelled in pain and twisted away, rolling to her feet. She was lucky that her foot had not been broken by the blow, even though it hurt as bad as if it had. You will tire out, the robot said. You will feel pain. I do not. Therefore, I will win. It's easy as all that, Bunny said, holding her hand out. The sword flew from the robot's grasp into her hand. I still got a lot of fat left in mine. The robot slowly approached Bunny. Bunny stood there, an idea come to her. When it closed half the distance, the robot shot her again, but Bunny was ready this time. She used her sword to deflect the laser, trying to hit the robot's left elbow, the one place where it was flesh. The laser hit its mark, restoring it to metal, so it was owned to flesh. I'm all to you, Niall, Bunny said, circling sideways. Are you? The robot extended its hands toward Bunny and shot its claws at her. Bunny dodged most of them, but one caught her just above the eye, leaving a jagged rip in her flesh. At the same instant, the robot fired at the place Bunny would have been if she had dodged all the claws. But since she didn't, the laser missed her completely. Bunny wiped away the blood that was starting to flow into her right eye, half blinding her. The robot extended its claws again and fired, shooting its laser at the only place Bunny could safely dodge to. Bunny didn't dodge this time. She dropped her sword and grabbed each claw out of the air. I think you lost these, she said, throwing them back at the robot as they were shuriken. The robot flew up, avoiding the claws. Got these, it said, shooting lasers from its palms. But Bunny was already moving. She picked up her sword and ran there underneath the robot just as it started firing. She jumped up, slicing at the robot's legs as she passed underneath. The rockets which extended from the robot's feet suddenly turned full blast, nearly frying Bunny. But Bunny was moving too fast. She passed through the flames with only her gi getting a little singed. The only other thing that was its wound above her eye sealed up, cauterized by the fire. Bunny whirled around, slashed her sword through the air twice, one slash crossing over the other. Blue fire appeared in the air where she had slashed. The fire started spinning around, its light changing to red and slashed. In turn turned to white as it spun faster and faster. At a word, the fire sped toward the robot with incredible speed. The robot half flipped in the air so it was facing Bunny, but was upside down. It shot into fire with its eyes, but they absorbed them with no effect. The fire struck the robot and passed through it, slicing it into 4 separate parts. Mission unaccomplished, the robot said, and fell to the floor. Destruction imminent! The pieces exploded, drawing Bunny into a wall of tremendous force. Bunny crumpled to the floor, breathing very heavily. That was when Antoine, Nadia, and Rosie showed up. Antoine knelt beside Bunny and put her head in his lap. Bunny! He asked softly, what just happened? I thought a robot who looked like me, Bunny said weakly. It was one step ahead of me at every turn, so I had to pull out all the steps. Problem is, whenever I use the Starfire, I better hit because I'll be too weak to do anything else for a while.
We have to keep moving, Rosie said. If Bunny had to deal with this, who knows what the others are facing?
Educated her, Antoine said, lifting her up in his arms. Your arm, Bunny whispered. Why is it metal? Antoine looked at his right upper arm through a tear in his sleeve. It seems that I am not being affected by what has taken your miss, he said, even though it has taken a long time to be turning back to normal.
Uh-oh, Nadia said. I hope I'm not right, but we'll soon find enough. Come on, Rosie said. We had to find the other two, and soon. The moon is rising. Don't ask me how I know. I just know.
Because somebody took a certain feat in D&D that I find really useless. Donovan was sitting on the cold floor of the building in a hallway, feeling similar to the one Bunny had found herself in. Only both directions were dark. What hit me? He thought, rubbing his head. He stood up slowly, testing out the ankle that had been recently hurt and healed. Well, time to stop moving. He looked around both directions in the hallway, but couldn't see very far. One doesn't seem any better than the other, he thought, started walking one way at random. Oh,
You'll be moving all right, a voice said behind him, 6 feet under. Donovan turned around, sword drawn. Who are you? He asked.
Oh, don't you know?
A figure said, stepping out of the shadows. Donovan just stood there, shocked. Before him stood him. The figure before him looked exactly like him, only was in a black outfit. The sword the figure had was Fiora's, the sword he had used before regaining his father's. After all, I am you, the figure said, smiling. I don't know what you are, Donovan said, his eyes turning red, but you'll soon be a distant memory. Come on and try it then, Donovan's double said. Donovan charged the figure, sword ready. Before he had gone 3 steps, he tripped over a crack in the floor and fell face down from his double. The double dropped an elbow right into the small Donovan's back. Oh, you could do better than that, the double said, rolling to his feet. Donovan stood up and advanced on the figure slowly. When he was in range, he slashed with his sword. The figure parried his blow and carried one of his own. A huge sword fight broke out. The combatants evenly matched. Rather, they would have been, if Donovan had been able to stay upright for more than a minute. I've never been this clumsy before, Donovan said, justifying a starts from his double. Even without my wish, I'm not this bad. The double laughed. You're pathetic, you know that. The KAvenov didn't just take your wish. It struck suddenly. Donovan avoided it, but fell into a jagged piece of the wall face first. He reversed it. Donovan pushed away from the wall, holding his left eye. Blood seeped out from his fingers, and Donovan knew he had lost it. See what I mean? The double said, advancing. Now instead of avoiding danger, danger will follow you wherever you go. Anyone around you will be in constant danger of getting hurt, or worse. And any attempt you make to avoid the danger or stop it will fail. It struck at Donovan, who barely blocked the blow, but was disarmed in the process. Donovan fell back, looking around with his good eye for the sword. The double slashed at Donovan, nicking his arms, legs, and chest, toying with him. It knew Donovan was beaten mentally and emotionally. Ironic, isn't it? He said, moving in for the final blow. You spent half your life trying to revive your parents. Now you'll join them in the great beyond. Don't worry. I'll take good care of Nadia for you. You see, people, and Micah, this is how you do a good OC. You actually have him in pain. You actually show him trying to overcome things. You show him failing once in a while. You know, failing doesn't include Twilight's death. Real failing is stuff like this. In real moments of weakness. Donovan fell to his knees, tears coming from his eyes as well as blood. His defeat was total, humiliation complete. He let everyone care about down, and there was nothing left. He waited mutely for the end to come. Was it only that Nadia could somehow be spared all this? Out of nowhere, a sword flew at the double, launching its way all to its hilt to his figure's chest. What the hell is this? The figure gasped, dropping to his knees. You weren't defeated. Your wish reversed. Yet here I am, dead. Fell sideways and dissolved to dust. Donovan stared at the figure, confused but happy to be alive. The sword pulled out of his stubble and flew to the ground in front of Donovan. Donovan struggled to his feet and grasped the hilt of his sword. As soon as his hand closed on the hilt, he fell to his knees, head resting on the hilt of the sword. Donovan! Nadia screamed, running to him, hugging him. Thank you, Almighty, you're alive. Then she got a good look at him. Oh no, she whispered. I'm alive, all right, Donovan said, breathing hard. Barely. Not of my own accord.
What happened, Donovan? Rosie asked, helping him stand with Nadia. You look like you had a close brush with death itself.
I almost left with him, Donovan said.
Let me do what I can,
Rosie said, propping him against the wall.
I don't have Taurus's powers, but I should be able to heal the minor stuff.
Not that it'll do any good.
This is not sounding like the Danny I know, Antoine said. I am almost thinking you are giving up.
If it wasn't for the magic I needed, I would. And even then I'm thinking about it.
What's the matter with you? Nadia asked as Rosie finished her work. I never heard you act like this.
Before Donovan could answer, a rumbling shook the hallway. The ceiling collapsed over the passage that had just come down, sealing it off completely.
I suggest we leave before my wish traps us in here, Donovan muttered.
As if on cue, a rumbling sounded in the other direction. Nadia picked Donovan up over his shoulder, and they all hurried to a nearby room. But the ceiling collapsed before they all made it in. Some stones struck Antoine on his right forearm. He dove the last few feet, just making it before he was trapped. "That was too close," Antoine said, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. Bunny screamed, pointing a trembling finger at Antoine's head. "I can't, Bunny," she whispered. Antoine looked at Bunny for a second. His eyes slowly moved to his hand. Where his hand was supposed to be, all he saw was metal. Oh, it was still his hand, but it was now robotic. Antoine tore the right sleeve of his jacket. His entire right arm had turned robotic. Frantically, he unbuttoned his jacket and was relieved it not spread beyond the arm. "What is happening?" "It's like I feared," Nadia said, bending down his eyes with strips of cloth she cut from her sweatshirt. Nadia, I'm injured too. If you could cut off more of your clothes and bandage me and— Ow! "The KAvenov has somehow changed what happens when you get neutralized and made it affect more of your body. Every time it happens, it gets a little more robotic." Antoine leaned against the wall, trying desperately to calm himself, but Bunny just sank down on the floor, crying. "You got fight by saving me," she whispered. "Now might be the end of you."
It will not be just that."
The KAvenov's voice rang through the room.
It'll be his friends as well.
"What's that supposed to mean?" Nadia demanded. "I know you haven't done anything to me yet. Maybe it's because I have this?"
She reached into a pocket and pulled out the life emerald.
"You stole that from Sonic?" Rosie asked. "I wouldn't say stole," Nadia said. "After all, I did ask him."
Donovan took a step forward and tripped. His sword flew from his hand and headed straight for Antoine. Antoine raised his arm, his left arm to block it, and it clanged off his forearm. The sword deflected and headed straight for Nadia, but stopped in midair.
"Nice try,"
she said as the sword returned to Donovan's hand.
"Oh, but you see, my dear," the KAvenov's voice came. "There's more than one way to cause misery to somebody. His misery is yours too."
"We better find Tanis," Rosie said. "We're starting to run out of time."
"I better stay after all," Donovan said. "You see, the KAvenov didn't merely take my wish. He had forced it."
"If you're staying, I'm staying too," Nadia said. "Don't even argue," she said, cutting off his protest. "I told you I'm with you for life. This hasn't changed anything."
"But you're the only one who can control the life emerald," Donovan said. "You'll need that edge to stop the KAvenov."
"Like I'll be able to concentrate, knowing you're waiting here to die. But don't say you're not. Either we both go, or we both stay."
"Oh, gas?" Bunny said. "Since when do stalactites grow in the building?" "Looks like I may not have to wait after all," Donovan muttered. Nadia picked up Donovan again.
"Stay close to me,"
she yelled, running for the exit. Everyone huddled close to Nadia as they moved towards the exit. All the stalactites started falling, but those that came too close were held at bay by the life emerald. They made it safely out with no one getting hurt.
"Are you having fun yet?"
the KAvenov asked, laughing maniacally.
"The fun's just starting," Nadia said slowly. "After all, we haven't reached you yet, now have we?"
"The question is, will you reach me? And if you do, will it be in time?"
"Let's go," Rosie said. "We've got to reach Tanis, or this is all for naught."
Meanwhile, Tanis was sitting in a dark room.
"You cannot scare me, KAvenov," he said. "I am protected by the Almighty. There's nothing you can do to unnerve me. All I'm going to do is sit here and wait for the others to find me."
"Well, I do," the voice asked. Tanis turned his head to look at the voice, caught his breath in shock. Before him stood a mouse in his late 40s or early 50s. He had the same gray fur that Tanis had, but his hair was a dark black, much as Rosie's had been when they were young, except for a single shock that had gone gray. There was something about this mouth that both fascinated and repulsed him, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it.
"Who are you?"
he asked, standing slowly. "I'm your son," the mouse said. "Well, the son you could have had."
"By the Almighty,"
Tanis breathed. "The Almighty had nothing to do with this, I assure you. In fact, this is all you're doing."
"What kind of dark magic is this?" Tanis demanded. "I never would have done anything like this."
"Oh, but you did.
the moment you decided to replace your dead brother as a Holy One.
There was no decision, Tannis looked away. I had to do it. That was all.
Wasn't there? What about Gwendolyn?
Oh no.
Tannis whispered, his body going cold.
Oh yes. Your sister was more than eager to take your place. Your parents knew the damage becoming a Holy One would do to your relationship with Rosie, and they were going to let you out of it. But you made the decision to forsake her, thus forsaking me. A soul was already set aside for me to be born on Mobius. A soul that languished in limbo for 50 years. If I had been born, my soul would have been filled with warmth. But now, I only know hate. Hate for you doing this to me.
Almighty protect me, Tannis said, sinking to his knees. Banish the spirit from my sight.
The Almighty cannot protect you from your own conscience, the mouse said, his voice growing hard and filling with anger. But don't worry, I'll be leaving Mobius shortly. In fact, I'm going to take you with me.
He grabbed Tannis roughly and hauled him to his feet.
You have a choice, Father, the mouse said, sneering. Use your power to destroy me, or you allow yourself to be destroyed.
Tannis tried to pull away, but the mouse held him with a death grip. Slowly, Tannis could feel his life energy slipping away, but he did not resist. For years he had lived with this shame. Everything the mouse had said was true, and everything had been a dagger in his heart. He wanted to die. He wanted his pain to win, but he remembered the KAvenov. He had to be there to stop him, or everyone else would die. His soul could never rest with their blood on his hands.
Forgive me,
he whispered, tears falling from his eyes.
Do what you must, Father.
Tannis grabbed the mouse's wrists, but did not try to break their hold. Instead, he grasped him tighter and started chanting, calling out the magics necessary to banish the spirit. His own hands started glowing. The light traveled into the mouse, disintegrating him. In moments, the spirit was gone, destroyed by Tannis' power.
Forgive me,
he whispered again. A silver ring floated down from the ceiling and hovered in front of his face. With a trembling hand, Tannis reached down and took it. There were some words inscribed inside. To Rosie, with my love forever, Tannis. Tannis sunk to the floor, his spirit broken. This was the final cruel blow. He had gotten this ring for Rosie just before he had answered the Almighty's call, but never given to her. It was with this ring he had planned to ask her for her hand in marriage. When he had tried to find her all those years ago but couldn't, he had hidden the ring behind a stone in the sanctuary, intending it for her never to see the light of day again. But there was another reminder of how he failed her.
Tannis!
Rosie cried, running up to him as she and the others found him.
Are you hurt? What happened?
Tannis broke down in tears.
Oh, Rosie, can you ever forgive me?
He whispered brokenly.
Forgive you?
Rosie asked, kneeling down next to him, holding him in her arms.
For what?
For leaving you all those years ago.
I forgave you for a long time ago, Rosie said. But you know that. Why are you bringing it up now?
I lied to you,
Tannis said, pulling away from her.
I wasn't forced to leave you. I left willingly. I put being a Holy One instead of being with you.
But I thought you had no choice.
Tannis shook his head.
Gwendolyn, my sister, could have taken over the duties instead. In fact, my parents encouraged me to let her, but I felt I would be dishonoring my brother's memory if I did, and I put that ahead of you. Could you ever forgive me?
Rosie hugged him again.
Oh, Tannis, you always did have a tendency to punish yourself more than you're supposed to. Why does that sound familiar?
Nadia whispered, nudging Donovan aside. Donovan, instead of angry, just held his finger to his lips.
Did you think I would be angry with you again? Rosie continued. Or maybe you thought I loved you less. None of that matters to me now. I do love you, Tannis. Nothing will change that.
Tannis wrapped his arms around Rosie and hugged her tight, crying into her shoulder. Rosie rocked him back and forth, soothing him as he would a child.
I saw him,
Tannis whispered. Him? Him who?
Our son. Or rather, the son we should have had. The KAvenov tortured me with him, having me attack him and forcing me to destroy him to save myself.
How low can this thing get? Bunny demanded. I mean, what else could happen? We don't have to wait that long to figure out, Rosie said, helping Tanis stand. The sooner we get him, the sooner we stop him. Now we're all back together. Can't be that far.
They walked down the tunnel, considerably more somber than he had been. Unseen to everyone, Tanis slipped a silver ring into the pocket of his robe. He patted his pocket inside. He knew it was destiny to give his life to destroy the KAvenov. He squandered his one chance of true happiness. He would not allow any of the others to lose theirs. When he reached the end of the tunnel, they figured they were finally at the KAvenov. In spite of their surprise and dismay, when they found themselves back in the original corridor, this time all the exits had been blocked off due to a cave-in.
We went down to the left originally,
Nadia said.
We came back to the right one. Anyone bet the KAvenov's down the middle?
No need to bet that, Bunny said. All we need to do is get to him.
We better do it soon, Rosie said. The moon will set in less than 2 hours.
How do you know this? Antoine asked. I know you said not to ask, but I must know.
For answer, Rosie simply walked over to the doors and slashed through them.
Believe me now,
she asked, pointing at the moon with only a half-light visible above the trees. Then she did a double take.
Wait a minute, this desert doesn't have trees!
Tanis came to stand before him.
We're not looking at the desert anymore, he said quietly. Looks like we're staring at the dark swamp, the very place where the KAvenov was first called to Mobius.
Are you telling me he's out there somewhere? Bunny asked. Could be anywhere. We might not even be here. Donovan walked toward the others, an idea forming. When he tripped again, a loose pebble that he kicked on his way down hit the rocks covering the metal passage, bringing it crumbling down. All of a sudden, everyone was being sucked toward what looked like a void portal, but the colors were all wrong. Instead of purple and yellow, the portal was red and black.
Everyone, grab onto something! Tanis screamed. That's a portal to the abyss!
Antoine dug his right hand into a wall and grabbed onto Bunny with his left, just noticing now that both hands were robotic. Tanis and Rosie, standing next to the door, weren't all that offended by the portal. Nadia was able to brace herself against another pile of rubble, but Donovan wasn't so lucky. If he had an instinct to grab onto the edge of the hallway, he would have been sucked through in an instant. As it was, the stones were crumbling beneath his fingers.
Donovan!
Nadia yelled.
Hold on!
Tanis took a step toward the portal, but Rosie grabbed his sleeve.
Are you crazy?
She yelled.
I'm the only one who can shut it, Tanis said. I'm not going to lose Donovan.
He pulled away from Rosie and ran toward the portal. Nadia reached down and snagged him just before she passed the door. Thanks. He pointed a finger at the portal, spoke a few words harshly. The portal weakened visibly as Tanis spoke. Just as Donovan lost his grip, the portal winked down entirely.
Is everyone okay?
Rosie asked from the doorway.
Looks to be, Tanis said. What about you, Donovan?
I'm fine for a luckless oaf, he grumbled. By the way, Nadia, you lost that bet.
At least he still has a sense of humor. But now, what are you going to be doing? The KAvenov could be anywhere in that slump.
True, Donovan said, getting to his feet. Without a word, he simply walked out the door.
Hey, where are you going?
Nadia asked, catching up to him. To the place that would be most ironic. The temple where it all began.
It's so simple, it just might be right, Bunny said. Get ready, everyone.
It didn't take them long to find the buried temple in the hole Sonic had dug down to it over a year ago.
Who goes first? Rosie asked. There's only room enough for one at a time.
Before anyone could answer, Donovan tripped headlong down the tunnel.
There's the answer,
Nadia said, jumping in after him. She was followed by Bunny, then Antoine, Tanis, and finally Rosie. They stood before the temple doors, Nadia helping to write an upside-down Donovan.
This is getting truly monotonous,
Donovan complained, brushing himself with Nadia's help. Nadia opened her mouth to answer, but screamed instead as the forest picked her up and threw her into a wall. She crumpled silently down, leaving a trail of blood on the wall.
Nadia!
Donovan screamed, running to her, but something tricked him, sending him spiraling. He rolled to his back, and saw a rune sword placed against his throat.
If you don't like monotony, the KAvenov said, I could certainly end it for you.
Hey, ugly,
Bunny called, drawing her sword. How'd you like a taste of starfire?
It would probably taste better,
the KAvenov said as Bunny began her slashes.
But you ask yourselves, Whose mouth did it hit? He picked Donovan up and held him like a shield.
Damn!
Bunny swore, letting the fires die.
I can't do anything to him while he has Donovan.
From behind, Antoine slashed at the KAvenov. His blade streaked with green fire. The blade bit deep into the KAvenov's shoulder, but it did not do the damage Antoine had intended. Lacey roared in pain, threw Donovan at Bunny so he could give Antoine his full and undivided attention. Antoine fell back, but he saw that half his blade had broken off and was low inside the KAvenov's shoulder. He stood there only for a moment, trying to decide what to do. While it was a moment too long, the KAvenov grabbed Antoine by his jacket and held him up.
I think I'll finish what I started!
Antoine caught his breath in hard as he could feel his body being roboticized. He twisted and turned every which way, but could not break the grip. Bunny charged the KAvenov and grabbed the broken blade in his shoulder. Using both her hands, she drove it even deeper and twisted it. Lacey whipped Antoine around and smacked Bunny back into the tunnel with him. Then he tossed Antoine, who had not been completely roboticized yet, at Donovan, who had just started getting up.
It's time to play a new game, KAvenov said. It's called Hide and Seek. Only I hide and seek.
You're not going anywhere,
Tana said, arms outstretched. Glowing canes appeared around KAvenov, trapping him for a moment.
I sent to the abyss.
You're a strong older mouse.
Only in a sonic fit could that actually be said with any sense of seriousness. The KAvenov said. A hole appeared in the cage, formed by the power of the Shallow Emerald.
But my master's power is stronger.
As well as I know,
Not a weak voice said. Nadia Soma struggled to her feet and was approaching the KAvenov.
The only thing stronger than his evil is his very life force.
And a trembling hand, as he raised the life emerald and pointed at the cage. The hole closed just before the KAvenov could escape.
Someone get him now!
Nadia said on one knee. I can't hold him much longer.
A moment will suffice,
Tana said, drawing out a slim dagger from his robes.
And hands here, KAvenov.
I don't think so, older mouse,
the KAvenov said, brandishing his rune sword. Flames flew to the sword, striking both Tanis and Nadia, sending him flying and breaking the spell that held him.
Now all 5 of you will suffer!
Then as an afterthought, he added, 5? The KAvenov's body stiffened in sudden pain as a blade emerged from his chest. Just as quickly as it appeared, it was withdrawn. The KAvenov turned around, stumbling, staring into the eyes of Rosie.
Like Tana said, it ends here!
As he struck again, placing the sword to his gut and lifting it up through his chest. Lacey's body shrunk down to a normal size for a skunk as his eyes turned from white to light brown.
Michael,
he whispered, his voice now normal.
My soul
is free.
Fell backward, falling at rest.
Rosie, no,
Tanis whispered, tears falling from his eyes. Rosie smiled sadly at Tanis. Then stared as he felt the KAvenov's spirit invade her body.
It was the only way,
she said through her teeth. She propped the sword hilt first against the ground and fell on it, making sure to press her heart cleanly.
Finish it,
she whispered, then was still. A black spirit rose from her body, highly agitated.
You'll not stop me now, it screamed. For as long as there is misery and suffering, my game can never end.
No,
Tanis said, standing and talking to the spirit.
This game will go on, but you'll never play it again.
We need a good rock song.
Oh, shot to the heart, he's a lamb of God.
Yeah, there's some Christian rock songs I like. Tanis brought his hands together and chanted ancient words in a loud, clear voice. A white light surrounded Tanis, making it impossible to look at him directly. When the light was at its brightest, he pointed a finger at KAvenov, and the light shot from his hand, surrounding the spirit. Holy crap, he gave him the finger! The spirit screamed in pain for a bit, but then stopped. Looked around for a second, then just started laughing. It was that cold, heartless, maniacal laugh that each one knew too well. But even his laugh, it was destroyed. Tanis poured everything he had into the spell, making sure to obliterate every last wisp of the spirit. Finally, when the light died, nothing of it was left. The Shallow Emerald held in midair for a second, then dropped to the floor. Tanis nodded and smiled.
It is done,
he said, then collapsed. He crawled over to where Rosie lay.
Somehow, he found the strength to take the silver ring from his pocket and slid it to her lifeless hand.
I should have lived my life with you, Rosie,
he whispered, stroking her head.
Instead, it seems that I will die with you. My dear Rosie, who I would have shared my life with, I will now die with.
Well, wasn't expecting a Flight of Dragons reference.
You'd be surprised at what fantasy movies I could bring out at times like this, Trixie. He held her body close, drew a sighing breath, and died. Though the whole area was a place of death and evil, there came to it a being whose goodness and light were more balanced than dark. It was clad in a simple white robe, but light seemed to emanate from the fairy air that surrounded it. The being floated down through the ground and came to rest where everyone lay, either dead or unconscious.
My children,
it said, a voice a strange mixture of both male and female. Nadia began to stir, and the being floated over to her. Is this the ultimate Deus Ex Machina, or what?
You are the one least physically scarred by this,
it said, placing a glowing hand on her head.
Yet, you have learned much about evil this day, and will forever carry those scars on your mind and heart. Awaken, Nadia.
Nadia opened her eyes, just as Donovan started to stir. The being floated over to him.
You have lost your wish today, and with it your sense of self-worth, but you still performed admirably, even facing your greatest fear. Now you know you are not alone, and those that will stand by you regardless of your situation. I will restore your wish, but your eye will remain lost to remind you of your battles this day.
That being placed a hand on him, as it had on Nadia before.
Awaken, Donovan Osoya.
Donovan opened his eyes and stared at the being in wonder. But before he could speak, Bunny started to stir, and the bunny moved on.
For most of your life, you have only wanted to be whole. You have thought that you would find your love return to you. Then again you made your wish. But even without your wish, your honor and will remained, never wavered in your purpose. I return your wish to you, but shall let your scars remain, so you do not forget all that you have seen.
It played a hand on her. Awaken, Bunny Rabbit.
Oh, you bloody cheapskate. You know the scars too, you jerk!
I swear, if I didn't worship Illustrate so much, I would be so much of an atheist. Bunny awoke and tried to focus on the being. While she was still groggy, Antoine began to move, and the being went to him.
You have spent most of your life denying your heart for the sake of another.
It said, laying a hand on him.
The memories of your perceived failure have haunted you. You wish you could have taken her place. To the extent you got that today, of far more than you deserve. Your body will return to normal, save the one spot that has always been affected. Let it now remain robotic, to only remind you of the events of this day, but to finally put your soul at rest. Awaken, Antoine de Colette.
Antoine's eyes fluttered open and he slowly sat up. The four looked around, not sure what was going on, but knowing that something special had occurred. Their eyes then fell on the lifeless forms of Tanis and Rosie.
Oh no,
Antoine whispered. Donovan got to his feet and walked over to where the bodies lay. He knelt down to Tanis' body and laid a trembling hand on his shoulder.
Farewell, Tanis,
he said, his voice nearly choked with tears. Nadia and Bunny wept openly, hugging themselves and leaning against the wall. Antoine made his way over to Donovan.
They will be missed, he said solemnly, but we will never forget the sacrifice they have made for us and for Mobius.
At least they're together at last,
Donovan said, wiping the tears from his good eye. Yeah, it's sometimes good that we let two people die to remind us of what we have lost. Though Tanis was a great character, this felt like a good end to his arc. Indeed, maybe Rosie too. Telling of a good moral that maybe we should maybe we should move on and learn to fly with our own wings.
Be not saddened.
Excuse me, what?
The being said, hovering over their bodies.
their work here on Mobius is not yet done.
What?
All four looked at the being, just as it was seeing for the first time. They each wanted to say something, but were dumbstruck by the being's presence. The being caused both bodies to flow up next to it and laid a hand on each.
You have both given the ultimate sacrifice for your friends, your world, and for me. Yet you both were denied the happiness that was destined for you. Returning your lives is simple enough, but I have something else in mind for you.
Okay, remember what I said about all that? I take it back. Let's have some happy endings all around. You know what? Let's see this guy's moves. I take back everything I've ever insulted you, God being. Just this once. Everybody lives. Just this once, guys. Everyone lives. Let's do this! Thomas and Rosie's bodies started glowing with the same life that surrounded being. They both started to breathe his life when he turned to them. But then something else happened. The years started to drop off on him. The wrinkles on Thomas's face smoothed out, and his fur became a darker gray. Rosie's hair burst free from her hair, the curls and returned to a long, lustrous black. The other four watched in amazement as the change was completed, and he lowered sadly to the ground. Happy endings for all! Yay! What? Guys, have you not seen Fall of Starfleet? Alright, I had to laugh at when they were talking about how everything was all wrapped up nicely. Yeah, that's what I kind of am. I like doing happy endings for all. It's kind of my thing. Awaken my special ones, that being said. Thomas and Rosie opened their eyes and sat up together. What happened? Thomas asked, still dazed. I'm supposed to be dead, Rosie said wonderingly. Did I fail?
Oh, and, by the way, due to the fact that the rear wants to keep their voices, I'm still keeping their voices the same.
Then they stopped, hearing how different their voices sounded. What's going on? They asked, looking at themselves and each other. It is a miracle, Antoine said, dropping to his knees in awe.
You are quite correct,
the being said, the hint of a smile on his voice. Thomas and Rosie looked at the being above them, and Thomas immediately scrambled to his knees.
I do not worthy to be in your presence, Almighty One,
he said fervently.
Almighty One,
Rosie asked slowly, since he couldn't believe it.
Yes, Rosie,
the Almighty said.
Tanis has served me better than almost any other Holy One in all history. But he sacrificed his own happiness for that, as well as yours. Because of his diligent service to me over all these years, I'm giving you both another chance at life, and another chance at love. You're both welcome to stay in my service, but I would understand if you merely want to be with each other. The choices are yours.
The Almighty gestured at each one of them, teleporting each to their homes. When they were gone, the Almighty picked up the Shadow Emerald.
I only hope this power is never misused again,
it said, transporting into Sally's hut. It turned to face the temple.
I will seal this place of evil away forever, that none may ever find a spirit like the KAvenov again.
A blinding light filled the area, and the Almighty in the temple vanished. Even the cave in the ground where the temple stood was filled with blessed waters. You know, I don't mind a Deus Ex Machina if it means that everybody is happy. But one thing remained, forgotten in the waters. The KAvenov's rune sword lay at the bottom, dull and lifeless. A dark portal opened in the wall next to the sword. A black-robed arm reached for the sword, though in immense pain from the holy wire that surrounded it. Retrieved the sword, it quickly closed the portal.
Yoink!
Needless to say, Sally nearly jumped out of her skin when the Shadow Emerald dropped from thin air and landed on her stomach. First, she didn't know what had happened, but when she saw it, her mouth opened in wonder. She grabbed the emerald and ran straight for Bunny's hut. Bunny! She called. Bunny, are you here?
You are both here, my princess,
Antoine said, stepping out of the hut, with Bunny right behind him. What's going on here? Sonic asked, running up with most of Nahal in tow. Man, you do look like you've been back into the abyss and back. Sonic! Sally said, nudging him with an elbow.
No, Sally girl,
Bunny said. Sonic's right. Me and Circle 20 feel exactly like that. A low murmur went up as everyone saw Bunny's scar, and Antoine's right up her arm.
You gonna be okay?
Tails and Sauter asked, worried.
They'll be fine, Antoine said, but I'm wondering about the others.
You mean us?
Natty asked, landing with Donovan right next to her. Benny there flinched away at the sight of Donovan's eye. I guess I'll be wearing a patch from now on when I'm not wearing my shades, he said. Oh god, I'm now even more of a Mary Sue. I can imagine everybody in the comments of this video claiming how much of a Gary Stu I am. I wield a sword, and now I'm missing my right eye. Everybody knows a scar across the right eye is one step towards Gary Studum.
We just wanted to take it as he did,
Nadia said. Sal looked over Rosie's hut, but found no sound emerged from within.
But I thought everyone went home,
Nadia said, confused. She probably is. Donovan said, just not where you think. Indeed, Rosie was home, but her home was now a sanctuary.
Will you stay with me here?
Titus asked.
Do you even have to ask?
Rosie said, smiling.
I know you would have become a holy one, like me, he said. I know the Almighty said I could do something else if I wished, but I've been doing this so long, I want to continue.
And you won't be alone this time,
Rosie said, placing her left hand on his cheek.
And one other thing, yes.
Titus looked confused for a moment, then felt the silver ring cool against his cheek. He smiled and took her in his arms.
Let this be the first day of our lives together, he said.
The first of many years. Many, many years.
You know what I'm grumping most about this chapter? I mean, it's a great chapter and all. But, I looked at the length of this video and the length of this chapter. This is longer than the penultimate episode. That's right. The final episode, the final battle with Robotnik and Sonic, is shorter than this chapter. What the ever-loving